Well, good evening, good evening. First of all, apologies for this ray of light that's coming down this way, or this way, I don't know what way, but anyway, I don't know what's going on there with the webcam. But yeah, thank you for everyone who's joined so far. But most importantly, Nick, thank you for coming on the coffee pod. How's your day been?
Yeah, quite hectic. As I was just saying, my sister and her family have been here all weekend, so we've been doing family stuff, not thinking about work. Although I had to ship orders this morning, so I did a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because obviously you said they've been with you all weekend, so I'm guessing Monday morning comes and the orders have been all ready to be shipped.
Yeah, we had 54 to go out this morning, so I just did the ones that had to go today. So I'm actually going to do a shipping day tomorrow, whereas normally I'd do everything Monday.
Mm-hmm.
I just did a couple of hours work and that was it.
Nice. Well, good stuff. Well, let me just say hello to a few people in the chat and then we'll have a little chat really about you, Nick. This is going to be a show all about you. It's a bit like This Is Your Life. So yeah, we'll find out more. Sales in the Unexpected. It's Grizzly Adams. Yeah, Nick, when I put the thumbnail up, Nick messaged me and said, who's this guy with this beard? So is the beard returning, Nick?
It will be here as long as it, until I shave it off.
Don't be bothered. Yeah. Damien. Hi, Damien. Hope you're good. RS is in. A new name to my channel, Fluffy Muffin. So welcome. Limelight Vinti. Like a Lava Lamp is in. Hope you're good, Michelle. James is in. Well, I've got James in here, actually. I just want to shout out James's channel. So James goes to my Sunday Car Boot and his channel's fairly new. I think he's on about 580 subs. So I'll drop his channel in shortly. And if you aren't if you aren't following James already, please go and follow him. Really good guy. Thrifty Georgie's in. Dig Vintage. Peter Ray. I'll try and go through this quite quick. Otherwise, I know what it's like on your channel, Nick. We're here all night. So Relove Retro. Chris. Jamie Sully's in. UK Drama, Ian J, and we are at the bottom, which is good. And the old man's in. Hi, Dad. Hope you're well. Okay, so Nick, I know you've probably been asked this question a million times, but I want to find out what got you into reselling, because obviously we know the story about you had to shop before. So where's that passion for buying stuff and selling stuff come from? Where's that originate from?
That's a good question, where it originates from. I think really from my grandfather, who I was incredibly close to, and he was that Second World War generation where they never threw anything away. He was always picking up stuff, literally picking up stuff off the floor, like little lead weights that used to fall off, lead balancing weights from wheels.
Yeah.
And that just struck a chord with me, and it'd save my life and take them to the scrapyard.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of ethos of making something out of nothing that stuck with me as a child, and I think it just evolved from there really. And then when eBay came along and I got into using eBay to buy stuff, I quickly realized I should be selling stuff on here, and that was the start of it all really.
Nice. And obviously you had the record shop, and then you've gone full on eBay. And I know I messaged you earlier, but it's been over 20 years, hasn't it? You've been on eBay for
full time. I quit. My last paid employment was in a fingerprint bureau for the police force. After I'd left uniform, I switched to civilian. I did that for 6 months before I was going insane. And then I walked out, and when I've been full time doing this, since summer 2002.
Wow. Amazing.
Over 20 years.
Yeah, over 20 years. And so I know you've done the likes of Amazon before, and you don't do Amazon at the moment. And I know you've done, your fair share on some other sites as well. What is it about eBay that makes it your number one site? So why eBay over all the other platforms out there?
Two main reasons. They've got the customer base.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon do as well, but Amazon are not flexible.
Yeah.
You can sell how you want to sell on eBay. So I always end up coming back to eBay as my favorite platform because it's so flexible. And as I say, they've got the worldwide customer base that, you pay the fees, but you pay the fees for a reason. You can't replicate that on your own website. You can't replicate that doing it yourself on the high street, So I think they are still the best platform in my opinion. Yeah. Certainly for what I do, it's a bit of everything.
Yeah,
It
because
just works.
I've considered the Amazon route myself previously, but I feel at the moment for me, I'm still fairly new to eBay. I mean, I've been on eBay now just over 2 years, doing it full time. But I was looking early when I started watching your videos, and it was actually 2018. So at least 2 years before I even thought I want to be a reseller myself. And I think what attracted me to your videos is the car boot sales stuff you used to do with the GoPro. Because I like the hunt of going out there and finding things. So before I resold, my dad, who, as I said, is in the chat tonight, he used to take us to car boot sales as children, and we used to go and have a certain amount of money to spend. You'd get a couple of toys, and he used to send me up to stalls where he wanted to get a bargain himself, and he would send me up with less money and try and get to haggle, etc. So that's where my passion come from. And when I started watching your videos, Nick, I never once thought I'm going to turn into a reseller. And naturally, it developed into that way because I enjoyed it so much. And I know you get this all the time. A lot of people will say, the reason I've started reselling is Nick, by watching Nick's channel, by watching Nick's videos. And that leads me on to the next question. What made you start YouTube? Because again, when I started reselling, I always said to myself, I'll never do YouTube, haven't got time. But what was it that got you interested in the YouTube side?
Well, I think I discovered YouTube really quite late. It was, well, if I've been on YouTube now, 9 years? So it was only about a year before I started the channel, I found out what YouTube was. And I was just browsing around on there, as you do when you discover YouTube. And I found the first channel I found doing anything to do with reselling was actually a lady in Chicago called Mum the eBayer. And she would just go dumpster diving around rich neighborhoods in Chicago. And the stuff she was pulling out of there, and then she was selling on eBay as like what they call a side hustle. Yeah. And then from that, I found 3 or 4 all American channels talking about reselling, talking about selling primarily on eBay, but also Amazon. And I sat there looking at this thinking, this is what I do. I do this. Oh, wow. And it wasn't that long after that, I thought maybe I should have a go at sharing, because I just thought I have a lot of information to share and a lot of passion and excitement for it. And then, yeah, I blundered into it, really not knowing what I was doing, and it seemed to work. Yeah. And at that point, there was only Tom, Tom the English Picker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was only myself and him really doing it in the UK at that point. And then it kind of grew rapidly after that. Zahir started making videos, and there's people like Joe Pennies, who I'm not sure is making content anymore. There's Zahir. There he is.
Z's in the chat. Hi, Z.
So there was quite a small bunch of us to start with. And these days, I can't keep up. I'll be perfectly honest. I can't keep up with the content. So many channels doing it way better than I do. But I watch hardly any now. It's a bit ironic, really. I don't really watch resellers anymore. But yeah,
I think it is hard when you create content yourself. So much effort goes into the content creation, and that was a real eye opener to me when I started YouTube, because it was Mel who really got me over the line, because I was putting out for quite a while. And Mel said to me, just put out a first video, go and watch my first video. It's a load of rubbish and you'll really enjoy it. But I find now, because I'm creating content, I'm the same, Nick. Where I used to watch YouTube videos constantly, you kind of need a break away from it. So I watch a select few resellers like regularly. I'll dip in and out of other people's videos. But I think there's so much out there at the moment where you just can't keep up with everyone. It's impossible to keep up with everyone as well. So I think you've got to kind of pick your select few who you're going to maybe watch religiously, and then just jump in and see what other people are up to and whatever catches your eye.
It becomes more about the person and who I connect with and enjoy watching, because we've heard it all before, we've seen it all before. There's very little original content apart from Bram, who is just amazing.
He's so good.
There's very little original content, and there's not many bolos that you're missing out on if you're not watching all the videos. We can work this stuff out for ourselves. So it becomes about personalities for me. Who actually entertains me. And of course, Bram springs to mind with the entertainment. He's next level.
I know. His latest video where Tom was, you mentioned Tom's actually in the video, isn't he? Because he's knocking on Bram's door. But yeah, I had John on, I think it was not last week, the week before. And yeah, he's great. But again, why I watch John's videos is that it's so different to what everyone else is doing on the market. There's no one like John. and it's not forced either. He's naturally funny, which is
Well,
really
that's yeah. I speak to John occasionally, and I've met him now because he came down to Hitchin, which was great. And he's natural at that. You can tell that's his kind of sweet spot. If I try and be funny, I find it so cringe. I did that bizarre little video the other day.
I know, the six-figure thing.
I couldn't watch it back. I was like, is this funny? I can't. I was too self-aware. I thought, I'm not putting it out. Shared it with a few friends, and they were like, you've got to put that out.
Yeah, that was good. It was a good video. And that's the thing. I was speaking to John. We spoke a little bit after the call last week, and he says that when he's making content, if it's making him laugh, he knows it's worth putting out and it's funny, because to make him, he says sometimes I'm actually wetting myself just thinking about putting this video out. Let me catch up with a few people in the chat. So my cousin John's in, Lee, one of my friends, is in. Big Girls Really Do Cry, Laney is in. Hope you're good. Guy King, as we said, C's in. I've had many a chat with Z as well, and I remember the tat chats with Z that you used to do as well.
We did a long time. That was a regular thing for quite a while, and it like everything, I think it all fizzles out eventually. You have a certain amount of energy for stuff, but yeah, they were fun. They really were, and it really helped grow, I think, both of our channels at the time. It was really helpful. Yeah.
And I know we've spoken, Nick, and you're kind of mentioned that you want to bring back the live chats because you really miss that side of having people on the channel and chatting things, YouTube, eBay, whatever it may be. So have you got sort of plans this year when you plan to sort of kickstart that again? You're going to wait for the season to start for the car boots, or what's your plans?
I haven't really planned it. I just, I've got that itch and I'm going to scratch it again because I haven't done regular. I started doing a thing with Peter Cummins and Derek. Yes. And that kind of fizzled out because I was moving house and we all got very busy. And I said to the guys, I think I'm going to go back to just as and when, not as a regular thing. Yeah. I don't want to commit to another regular live, but just as and when I'll get people on that I'm interested in chatting to. Like I've invited myself on. Mel is hopefully going to come back on and others. So yeah, just as and when it suits, I think. Because I do enjoy that. Like yourself, you're very good at this, about the questions and probing and getting some information out. And I enjoy that as well.
Yeah, I think for me, it comes from my recruitment days. Because before reselling, that's what I was. I was in full-time recruitment for about 13 years. And it comes from that whole interview style of, getting someone in front of you and asking questions to find out whether they're suitable for a job, which is why when I started the channel, the podcast format was something I was really interested in. I know the boot sale videos are the ones that perform the best because people like the hunt. But I really enjoy getting people on the channel who are well known, like yourself and John, but also people who might not be as well known, who people might not have heard from before. I think that's as important for me to try and get them out there and to try and find out more about people who are doing it, maybe who are a year into the game or even doing it part-time as well. Yeah. We've got a question. Any questions for Nick or myself? Chuck them in. Limelight Vinty. Nick, what is the most stressful, working in the police, moving house, or developing Thrift Map? That's a great question.
There is no question whatsoever. Working in the police force was the most stressful period of my life.
Yeah.
Even developing the app and the countless setbacks we've had doesn't even touch it. Yeah.
I know you didn't have the most enjoyable time in that, did you? I know you said that a few times.
No, I was going to say the caveat to that is it is a fantastic career if you suit it and it suits your personality. And I know people that are still in, wouldn't change it for the world, and they absolutely love their job. I was a square peg in a round hole, and I realized that fairly early and just got out, So I found it incredibly stressful.
So let's talk about Thrift Map, because it's on the list of things I want to discuss with you. So for the people who do not know what Thrift Map is, and I'm sure most will, do you want to go into a little bit of detail of what Thrift Map is going to be, and also when you plan to release the full version? Because I know trials are going on at the moment and testing. And honestly, Nick, hand on heart, this is something I've been interested in since you mentioned it from day one, because I said to you the other week, I met you once on a jumble trail around Ashford and Middlesex. A long time ago, again, well before I was doing YouTube. And I was using an app called Circuit, where you can punch in all the addresses and Circuit will find you the quickest route, but that's costing £20 a month for the app. And it's still not easy So when you go on these jumble sales or jumble trails, in that case, you turn up at houses and they've decided not to do it, and it's such a waste of time. So do you want to talk a little bit about the app and where we are with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the idea grew from a question we get asked. So I knew there was a problem that we could maybe try and solve. And that was, I still get it weekly, you know, Nick, how do you find these jumble trails all the time? Because back in Hitchin, we were going every weekend. And when the season's back on here in Norfolk, I think there's loads, as well as jumble sales as well. So people would say, where do you go to find these? And there wasn't a simple answer. So that in a nutshell, we wanted to solve that and have a place where everybody can share these events, so everyone can find them all in one place. And then to make it intuitive and make them easy to find, we're making it all pinned on a map. We all understand Google Maps and how that works. So within the app it's running Google Maps, and you can find pins in your area. You can search other areas. You can have it as like an Instagram style feed as well, which can be can start near you and go further away. You can just browse it like that. But the thing we really wanted to achieve as well on top of that is to make setting them up simpler. So now within the app, you can create an event super quick within minutes, and it will then appear on the map for everyone else to see. So they'll A, know it's going to be happening, and B, if it's in their area, they can touch it. It will pop up and they can add their stall at their house instantly to the map. And we've achieved all of that. But while we were developing it, we thought, considering now we've got the whole of the UK, in fact, the whole of the world within the app, we might as well pin some charity shops. And we now have about 8,000 charity shops pinned. And we're hoping to get every boot sale on there. We have, I don't know what percentage of the UK's boot sales, but we've been researching for ages. And they're all on there as well with all of their info. So at the touch of a button, you can find out what days they're on, what times they open. There should be a contact phone number for boot sales, for example, which is super handy. You can just give them a call. Are you on? Normally it's a recorded message. And so, yeah, all of that has gone into one app, which is going to be completely free. Yeah. And that's why it's taken us forever. Our ambition was this big. Our knowledge was this big.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, that's the idea.
But I guess with an app, it's probably similar to where I am with YouTube, in the sense of when I first started YouTube, I thought you go out, you film the footage, you edit it. Editing will take 5 seconds. You quickly do a thumbnail, which takes another, couple of minutes, and then you release the video. But I've quickly come to realize there's a lot more into it. So was it the same with the app? I guess when you took on this task of creating the app, did you kind of anticipate how much work was going to be needed for the app? Did you anticipate the problems, or has it kind of just hit you in the face to feel like, well, it was a lot more work than I expected?
I was insanely naive, and I think that's a good thing. I think in life in general, I would rather blindly wander into something thinking I can do this and give it a damn good go than look at something and think I can't achieve that and never try. And if somebody had told me what it would be like and how big it would be and stressful and stuff, I wouldn't have attempted it. But we're going to get there. It will happen. And we've learned a lot along the way. I knew it was a big job, and I knew it was a big ask, because initially we looked for a developer and we had them cost it and price it for us. We had quotes up to 100 grand to build the thing. So I knew it was a big job, but I still stupidly thought, I can do this.
Yeah.
And I'm not programming it, by the way, anybody. I haven't written a line of code. Yeah. I've designed everything. And I have clever people that work with me. One in particular, my business partner, who is amazing. And it's all been done in our spare time. That good old spare time.
Yeah, the spare time, which basically means your evenings and weekends. That's what the spare time is. Yeah. And Nick, the question that you've probably been asked a million times, and I think I've asked you in your lives a million times already. Have you got a release date in mind? Are we close, or?
We have an app that works and does everything we set out to achieve. It's a case of making it watertight so it doesn't crash. Yeah. Which sounds, oh, well, that won't take long. But there's so many different configurations of button presses and this, that, and the other that we We're close. I've given up putting a date on it, or even
Sure.
attempting it, because I keep missing them.
Yeah. No,
Um,
of course. It's that famous deadline. You kind of say we're close, then that's
But honestly, James, we're at the point where we're going to start speaking to Google and jumping through all their hoops. We've got a product now, so it's now a case of how soon can we get it on the App Store. So we are close.
Good. Well, I'm excited. I can't wait to download it, because it's going to help me on the jumbles and also the charity shops. I want to try and get around more charity shops and stuff. So yeah, I'm excited for that. Say a few hellos. I'm probably miles behind the chat, so apologies. But if you've got any questions for Nick or myself, chuck them in. Tonks is in. Hope you're good. Melissa's in. There we go. Tom, Z, and Nick, the original Three Musketeers. Absolutely. My friend Andy's in. He's already put his comment in the video. So I don't know if you know, Nick, tonight we're going to be doing, I'm going to be doing a Amazon giveaway tonight. At the end, we're going to spin the wheel. You've automatically been entered into the competition, Nick, because you're the guest on tonight. So you've had a special pass in. But we're going to spin the wheel at the end tonight. So C's saying here, yes, definitely more about personality. I've been binging a dude called My Boring Reseller Life. He's quirky, but also very real. Yeah, I think you find the people you really love watching. I mean, I started with not just you, Nick, but not just because in the chat, Z, Peter, Sales and Unexpected, used to be the Vinegar Jar, the likes of George Ross, but also some of the American crowd. So Cincinnati Picker and also Shed Flips, Lani. They were the two I really was binging in America as well. So I think you find the people you really like watching as well. So here we go. Six-figure video is definitely funny.
Thank you. It is very odd. I tell you, I don't really do comedy. I find it really hard. Watching that back, I couldn't tell you if it's funny. It was really odd. You watch John and you're like, that's just amazing. That's so natural. But watching yourself back trying to be funny is weird. Totally weird.
Yeah. Nick, I laughed at it just because you hear it. And do you know what? I've been guilty of putting it before. I'm doing this so I can become a six-figure seller, because it is one of them things that is just chucked out there all the time. And then when you done that video, I was cracking up because I was like, no one's ever thought of doing it that way. So
yeah, it's it made me laugh. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
So James is saying he misses the Tat Chat days and Facebook group. Yeah, that's right, because you used to run a Facebook group as well, and you closed that down. And I'm not surprised, is what I will say, because I'm part of some of the Facebook groups and I've seen what can happen in there. So do you miss, I guess the answer is no, but do you miss running a Facebook group?
No.
I'll
expand on that. Yeah, I mean, that was it. It was fun and it was helpful, but it got to be that toxic space that was taking up so much effort to just maintain it as a non-toxic space. And we were fighting a losing battle anyway. And then we were trying to get people on board to help moderate it because we just didn't have the time. And then we were kind of having to moderate the moderators, and we just got to a point with it. We had so much going on in our own lives anyway, where we just said, enough's enough. We didn't want to hand it over. It was our space. It was our thing. So we just closed it down, and we got a lot of grief for that. But that was our choice, and it was the right thing to do for us at the time, and we stand by that. Facebook is not an easy thing. Any group of people, even just a messenger chat, and I'm in a few of those, you get them past kind of 10 people, I would say, and you get factions and you get infighting, and it's just people, right? Managing people is a nightmare. So I tend to stay out of the groups full stop now.
Yeah, I must admit, I've started to do the same, because I think it's a lot of negativity within the groups. And this is not for everyone. There's lots of people who go in there and put out some really good stuff and are really supportive. But for me, it was just becoming a mental drain, just going in there and just seeing negative comment, it's just not what I want to be doing, especially when you're running your own business and you're kind of, you're on your own effectively a lot of the time. you kind of want positive around you so you can actually try and build and grow. So I've done the same, Nick. I've took myself out a lot of them groups now, just for myself, just for my mental health, really, to make sure that it doesn't start bringing me down.
100%. And what I find useful for myself is social interaction. I don't need to really ask people about reselling.
Yes,
I've done it long enough to answer my own questions most of the time. Occasionally I'll reach out to people for help. But what I want from Facebook, and I don't really use Facebook, I use Messenger chats and WhatsApp a little bit, is just social interaction. And as a group of friends, that's someone in the chat now that I speak to on a daily basis. And I find that working for myself at home on my own, well, with Andrea, but on my own, essentially, that's all I need. I need people to laugh at my jokes and tell me I'm an idiot. That's sort of thing, right? That's what I need.
Funny videos when you don't think they're funny, but I know what you mean. You just need that. You need a couple of people around you, people who have similar mindsets, and actually, you can have a laugh and joke with without feeling like it's going to be negative stuff all the time. So no, I completely agree.
That's
and
all I need.
And
like-minded people, like-minded
and
people who tell you how it is and have a laugh with. That's all I need Facebook for these days.
Yeah, and I think I'm the same boat. I think I've got a select few people who I can message on WhatsApp or Instagram, and they're the kind of people who understand as well you are working still. So you're not going to be on Instagram messaging them all day. It might take you 2 hours to reply, but it's similar mindset, similar people who actually get that as well. And I think that's so important. More people.
I mean, and people like you mentioned Mel earlier. I've been chatting to Mel privately for a couple of years now. You find people that you strike a chord with, and they stick with you, and that's a really cool thing. And and I'm the same. I speak to Mel quite a bit now. I mean, the funny story with Mel is I messaged Mel when I was buying that huge book bundle, and I thought I've been watching Mel's channel. She knows everything about books. I know it's Australia, it's different. And I just said to her, Mel, look, sorry to bother you, but what's your thoughts on this? And she said, James, if that was in Australia, that is my dream kind of bundle. Go for it. And then from there, we built a relationship on there, and then being part of the daily refinement group as well. And we now host a call in the group together. So we speak quite a lot of the time as well. But again, it's similar people. It's positive-minded people who want to actually, big you up at times, but also tell you when you're wrong at times. And, we do that for each other as well. So I think you've got it. It's funny. Lainey's just said there, because I chat to Lainey daily. She's amazing. And so we find that really easy, Nick. So I assume that's in response to telling me I'm an idiot, because they remind me daily how much of an idiot I am. And I need that, right? I think we all need those people in our life.
You don't want the people just telling you you're perfect all the time. You want the people to actually pull you up on it a bit as well. So let me try and catch up. We got Lee in. Jamie's got a question. Nick, do you have a certain amount of listings you do per day?
Nope.
So you just list?
I don't regiment myself at all. I am doing this as a lifestyle choice. Also, I'm in a very privileged position. I've got myself into this privileged position, but I'm in a privileged position where I don't have a mortgage to pay. I don't have any debt. I don't really have to earn a lot of money. So I work as hard as I need to. I'm still a workaholic, so I probably work way harder than I should. But I don't regiment myself. I try not to beat myself up over it if I don't do any work on a certain day. Like today, I did the bare minimum because we have my sister and her family here.
Yeah, sure. And
that's fine, right? And some weeks I may list nothing. My sales graph will be up and down, and I don't care. It's a needs must situation. And I understand everyone's on a different part of their, let's call it a journey, if you like.
Journey.
And I was that crazy, ambitious, work 7 days a week guy for years. But you work that hard. So later in life, you don't have to work that hard.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm trying to be.
And like you said, Nick, you've got yourself to that position because I can't imagine, I've never done it, but I imagine, especially with running a store, running a brick and mortar store, that is not a job where you can just turn off the lights and switch off. There's lots that goes into doing that, with not just thinking about the typical 9 to 5 job. So you've worked to a position where you can do that on eBay, where eBay, as you say, is a lifestyle choice now. And if you don't want to list any items tomorrow, guess what? You don't need to do that. But I mean, I've seen from your videos, Nick, you're a workaholic, and that's probably brought me on quite nicely to the latest big buy you've brought, because that is not a few items. And from watching the videos, Nick, it's going well. So yeah, tell us a bit about your latest adventure and your big buy, because I know you like going out and buying your individual things from your jumble sales and the car boots, but you like these big lots, and I'm probably similar in that sense. I like to get a big lot of stuff in and then to buy odds and sods. So yeah, talk to us about that big buy.
Well, that came about. It's a contact I've had for a few years now, and I was given a heads up that he had this stuff, and it was right up my street. If you've seen it, there's some pretty high value electronics. There's some low value stuff that I was able to get super low value, and it still makes sense.
Yes.
It was just a really nice range of products, and it was a one chance, grab it quick kind of deal. And we went for it, and we bought a Luton van full, and we have broken even already. It couldn't have gone better, I'll be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
It's interesting as well, because I don't shy away from the fact that we sell a lot to our viewers.
Mm-hmm.
We always try and thank them if we get a sale through the channel. And so we knew we would get stuff picked up by the viewers, but the level that the YouTube audience has supported us with this haul has been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So that's been awesome to see. But yeah, it was a great one. It really was. And I'm hoping to work with this chap again, maybe in the near future. We'll see. Yeah. But I do love buying loads. Go on.
No, go on. Sorry, you go.
Yeah, I was going to say what's great about buying in bulk to that level is that you get the price down, or you should be getting the price down if you're buying thousands of items. So it kind of frees you up a little bit, because I know worst case scenario, I can cash those, I can move them on. So it's not that there's no risk, because there's an awful lot of money up front. I'm not going to share that. I don't think that's needed to be shared, the numbers, but yeah, I do enjoy it. I enjoy dealing with bulk, and I think that kind of goes back to my retail days. There's something thrilling about buying 1,000 of something. I don't know why, but there is.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat, and I don't know if you saw, but I made another huge purchase of Nerf guns, and it's probably the third huge purchase I made. And the guy at the car boot,
I haven't seen the video.
No, they're used, and it's a guy at the car boot, and it's funny because the first time I bought from him, I think I spent £180 on a huge bundle, and then I bought another bundle from him, and then I saw him again at this car boot sale, and I said to him, "So coming in, like, what's your story? Like, where are you getting these guns from? Because it's not like you've just cleared the kid's bedroom, because we're talking hundreds of guns." And he was like, "What I do, I buy them off Facebook Marketplace, and I have not got the time to list them on eBay, so I just take out the really good ones, sell them, make my money back, and then bring them all down the car boot sale and sell from here." So anyway, I spent £250 with him at the car boot, but then I know I'm sorted for stock for the next 2 or 3 weeks pretty comfortably. And then that takes the pressure off going to car boot sales, because then you're not racing around trying to buy anything for the sake of it. But I'm the same with the bulk buys. And what I liked about watching your purchase, it was that first real big buy for the new house as well. So it's kind of filled up that room quite quickly. And watching your update videos, you're shifting that stuff really quick, which is also really good to see, because whenever someone buys a bulk deal, the last thing you want to see is, they're struggling to move it on the other way. So, it's been fun watching along for sure. I enjoy when you buy your bulk buys. Same as with the shoes as well. I mean, I'll be honest with you, when you bought them shoes, my first reaction was like, "Nick, you're mad. Like, you bought so many shoes here," but they were flying out the door. And you had a contact who would come and buy, 20 pairs off you at a time. And so, you would go well with it.
That's an interesting one, because many people told me I was mad, and I probably was, but we had to work hard on that one to make that work, to be perfectly honest. They didn't sell as well as I might have liked. So we did a lot of bulk. I cleared the end of it in bulk. I did a couple of bulk deals during it, but which we were still making money on. But then we were still selling them like $12.99 a pair through eBay. And we had this local contact who used to do NHS staff. So we had to work a bit harder than we would have liked on that. But the thing, my mistake, if there was anything on that, was not judging the volume correctly, because they were all individually in shoeboxes and they turned up individually in shoeboxes. Why wouldn't they, right? So it filled our loft and our spare room, and it was insane, because at that point everything was coming in the house. At least here, some of it's out there in the shed.
It's out of the way.
But I'm I get a bit excited when I'm offered stock, and sometimes just go for it and think about it later.
Yeah, what you're saying there about underestimating things. When I bought this book bundle and it's 4,000 books on paper, 4,000 books seem like, oh, do you know what? It'd be all right. I can fit that in. But my dad come to collect them with me, and it filled his transit van. And at the time I had the car, and it filled my car. And even that was a squeeze. And processing 4,000 books, you don't realize until they're standing in front of you what 4,000 books looks like. But again, when the deal comes along, you've kind of got to make that decision there and then, because if you don't jump at it, someone else is going to be offered that deal within the next hour or two, and they're probably going to do it. So you have to make quick decisions in the game. Yeah.
And you have to be half brave and half stupid to do it. And I think over time, you do get more and more used to that. But it's always a bit of a, squeaky bum moment when you get home and then you think, have I made a right decision here? But I think you should always question yourself, and you should always be a bit scared when you're spending hundreds, if not thousands of pounds on a deal. You should be scared. And that should force you to do your due diligence and research if you can. But I still, there's nothing that gets me more excited than buying a bulk deal. And it's the thrill of not quite knowing if you're being sensible or crazy. Not quite knowing if you're going to ever see your money back. You should do if you've done your research, like I say. But I love it. It's having done this for 20 years, it does get repetitive, right? Most days it's Groundhog Day. So buying a big haul, it gives you that adrenaline. It gives you that bit of excitement that's missing most days out of your life.
It's a shame you can't do it every day, but I know what you mean about the buzz. And I feel that even when I bought the Nerf bundle the other day, it's like, this is great because I've got all this stuff now. And I love selling Nerf guns. Really easy to test. Put them with some bullets that come with the bundle as well. And normally they fly if you price it right as well. But we got a question here. I know you're into your music, Nick. Question, if you could jam with one music star, who would it be, dead or alive?
Jam with? That assumes I'm musical in some way, which I'm not really.
Well, you could just stand in the background and look cool.
It would probably... trying to think. That's a strange question, but let's think. Oh my goodness. Probably Tom York. I idolize that man from Radiohead. I think he's the most gifted and talented musician that's currently active. And he is, just to be within his presence would be enough, I think. But obviously I'm a huge Depeche Mode fan, so anything to do with them would be amazing. We're going to see them this year, which would be awesome.
Whereabouts you going to see them?
Twickenham.
Okay, not too far from me. Twickenham.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's a nice,
nice
stadium. I said, is it Twickenham Stadium?
Yeah, stadium. Yeah, I've been to a couple of. I saw U2 there. I saw Genesis there. It's not actually a great stadium for bands. The acoustics are awful, but it'll be good.
Okay, let's have a look. More questions for you, Nick. It's good. Nick, how do you feel about the VAT threshold? Do you deliberately stay under?
It's a very good question. And for the lion's share of when we've been reselling, we've been VAT registered. We went back under that, I guess, around the time I started doing YouTube again, which actually, maybe it's nearer half the time I've been self-employed. We don't necessarily do it on purpose, but it does avoid an awful lot of paperwork. When we were VAT registered, it took a lot of time just to process all of that. And when we were running the extremely busy gaming shop, and we were running 2 different VAT schemes for new and used, and it's a constant headache. So now that we can afford to be under it and not worry about, being a 6-figure seller and all of that. I prefer to stay under it. So we do. But I wouldn't recommend trying to stay under it. If you can smash through it and keep going, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say on that, really.
No, I think it has to work for you and your business as well, because I've changed my mindset a little bit, because I, like you, Nick, always thought to myself, do you know what, I want to stay under it because of the paperwork involved and the cost involved as well. Where my mentality now, because I really want to grow things, is if I'm going to do it, I want to smash through it. I don't want to just trickle over. You don't want to be sitting at 86,000, for instance, because 85 is the threshold. So you don't want to be sitting at 86 or 87. You kind of be looking at least 100, I think, if you're going to smash through it to make it worthwhile. But everyone's business is different. I know a lot of people who say they don't want to go close to it because they don't want the headache of it all and stuff. So yeah, it needs to whatever works for you. But there's lots of people who will say they want to smash through it. There's lots of people who say they don't want to go close. So
exactly, it's what works for you. But I would suggest if people are watching this and they're confused by it or have questions, you need an accountant if you're going to smash through that. Yeah. We actually did end up doing our VAT returns ourselves because we were doing it for like 10 years. So we kind of just, and I'm tight. So if I can avoid paying people to do stuff, I'll do it myself. Yeah. But we had an accountant when we went through to set everything up for us and show us the ropes. And then eventually we were doing our VAT returns. But it's a lot to deal with. So take some advice is what I would suggest, and don't come to me because I'm not giving any advice on that stuff.
No, I was going to say I'm the same. We're not tax experts, so speak to your expert as well. Don't you go saying to HMRC that Nick and James told you to do it this way, because we didn't. Damien says, what Bolo still eludes you? So is there any Bolos out there apart from the Ashes DVD that I know are hard to find these days, but is there any Bolos that you always look at? I mean, I could speak about one, and it's what Lee had the other day, who's in the chat. He had, and I've got the name of the teddies. You know, the ones with the handcuffs? I think you've shown them before.
Yeah, the monster. What are they?
They are the monsters. Yeah, but he found a pair the other day with handcuffs. Yeah, they're the ones.
Yeah, have I had one of those? I feel like I have.
I'm sure you have.
I feel like I have.
You probably had everything at some point.
It's a good question. What's classed as a Bolo? I mean, I would love to find some early, like first gen Magic the Gathering stuff, because I was into all of that for a long time.
Yeah.
And I bought and sold hundreds of thousands of Magic the Gathering cards. When we had our shop, as well as doing gaming and DVDs and that, we ran trading card tournaments. I used to run tournaments for Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, and we were big into that. And I bought and sold collections, but I've never had that amazing collection of somebody who bought it all back in the day and then had it sat in their cupboard and then sold it to me. That's kind of the holy grail for me. But yeah, apart from that, I think I've not found. I've had a couple of Mewtwo's in the last year, which has been nice. I was late to the table with them. I just never found them. And then there was, at the end of a boot sale, I found one for £1, just sat there, pristine condition. And that went for 300. That was amazing. But yeah, I think an epic trading card haul would be my Bolo. Pokemon now is Pokemon's overtaken Magic, you know.
Yeah, it's back in again. Yeah. I mean, the ones I look out for at car boot sales, and I found one. I found a Question of Sport for £1, but the prices on the cards have dropped off now. So I'm holding my Question of Sport until the Mike Tyson card or the other ones go up as well. So I found that. So that was off the tick list. But the one I haven't found as well, I think it's called, is it Ghost Castle? I've seen a lot of people speak about that. Did you find one recently? Was it you who found one quite recently? Or maybe it was Brum?
Not very recently. I did make a video because it's a really good game. I set it all up and I did a kind of in-depth look at what Ghost Castle is and how it works and all of that. Yeah, there's been several editions of that. I think it was Damien picked one up recently, but it wasn't the original 80s one. It was a follow-up one, and it wasn't worth as much as I would have imagined. But yeah, that's a nice one to pick up. Definitely.
GT Pre-Love says, are you looking for beta testers? So this is obviously for the app. We're quite far behind on the chat. So
not currently, no. No.
UK Drama, how can I get rid of my defect rate? Come on, Nick, you've had 20 odd years experience. You probably never had a defect rate, but what would you recommend?
I guess look at what the defects you're struggling with are and work harder to not do that again, whatever it was. If it was late delivery or whatever, just look into it and avoid it. Also keep on top of, if it's something you can get removed, keep on top of that and ring eBay and hassle them to remove stuff. But I guess it's just having systems in place so you avoid it in the first place. That sounds a lot easier than it actually is.
Yeah, my advice on that would be is don't ignore things. Because when I first started eBay, I was quite guilty of that. If you have a return opened or a return come back to you, you kind of put it off a couple of days, and then if eBay step in, that's where you start getting the defects. So face it head on. If someone opens a return, accept the return, get it back and deal with it straight away. Don't let it drag on to the last minute, because if eBay steps in, that's where you get the defects. And like what Nick was saying there, if you are offering, say, 1 day dispatch, which I do, if you can't keep up with it, just extend it out, do 2 or 3 days just to make your life easier as well. But yeah, try and keep your eBay account in good health. That's the way.
Yeah, I think having that little leeway of 2 day, which is what we have, 2 day dispatch, to give yourself, because you never know when something's going to come up in your real life, like outside of reselling, where you can't dispatch for a day and then everything's up to Swanee. So we have 2 days to give us that little bit of comfort zone. Like today, I've shipped a load of stuff today from the weekend, but because we've got 2 day dispatch on, I could spend the rest of the day with my sister and her kids and ship tomorrow. Yeah, that's great.
It does take that pressure off, 100%. Tam and Bell are in. Thrifty Georgie is saying, I guess these are his Bolos he's looking for. Olympus Mu 2 cameras. I found one of them before for £1, and I was over the moon with that. What about you, Nick? You found your fair share of Olympuses in the past?
Well, like I said, I was fairly late on that one. I found the one recently that was minty fresh for £1. Yeah, I think I've only ever had 2. Yeah, but I learned a lot about that sort of stuff. I remember when I went up to stay with Tahir years ago, he was picking up cameras then and knew a lot more, like Yashica. I think he found a Yashica camera while I was up there. And that really made me focus in on that as a little niche. Yeah,
it's a good little niche to have. And I mean, most of the time, it depends what you're paying. If you're paying £1 or £2 for a camera, you can't really go wrong. But just, do your research on different brands and makes and models. I mean, I picked up a lens at the weekend. Here we are. It's going to be in the boot sale video I'm putting out Wednesday. But I've never heard of this make before. And I paid £5 for it, and I got it home and I thought I've overpaid. Looked at comps today, and it could be about £150 lens. And that's without realizing. So, yeah, just do your research. And I say as well, take chances, because when you are learning, just take risks as well. As long as it's not a huge amount of money, if you spend £5 and you fail, you've learned. Don't take risks for £400 or £500. They're more dangerous.
Yeah. To add to that, I only ever really regret the things I don't buy. I can't really think of things I regret actually buying, because you end up learning somehow along the way, even if it's a fail. But I've got so many regrets of not going for something. So I tend to, if I'm in doubt, I'll go for it. It's haggle like crazy. Yeah, try and get the price down, but give it a go if you're unsure. Or worst case scenario, get it in your hand. We've all got a phone in our pocket. Look it up. I do that all the time. I've been doing this 20 years. I look half the stuff up, right?
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. Just look it up in the charity shop, at the boot sales. Say, just gonna text my sister. I think this might be what she's after. eBay completed. There you go.
eBay. Yeah, right? Yeah. That's the joy of eBay. You've got the app there. Everyone's got a smartphone. Well, not everyone. Most people have got a smartphone these days. You've got the app there, and you're right. I mean, when I first started, Nick, I'll be honest, every single item I picked up at a car boot, I was researching, just because I was trying to learn. Then it gets to the stage now where you just become more comfortable. You've sold similar things before, or you've sold certain items before, you just get a bit more, oh, I can pick that. UK Dramas made a good point here. I never knew cancelling an order and marking it as damaged or out of stock count as defect. It does. So if you can't find an item, because we've all been there, I've been there, where you feel you put it somewhere, or you might have sold it twice by mistake, or whatever it may be, my go-to is I just message the customer and be honest, and just tell them, I think what's happened here is I've misplaced the item, or I must have listed it twice and sold it. And then I asked the question, I said, would you like me to cancel? And then let them come back and say, yes, please cancel. And then eBay have seen that you've been honest with the customer, you've said about cancelling, and then you can cancel it. But yeah, you need to be so careful. And that's why a SKU system is so important. And right now, because I've moved all of my stuff into the garages, my SKU is a bit all over the place at the moment. So it's a task where I've really got to get back on top of. What about you, Nick? Do you use a SKU system, or do you kind of have a visual of where you place things?
I do use SKUs, more for the smaller stuff. Like the ceramics, we don't really have a system for. But if we go into that in a bigger way and start building up our stock, I think I'll just have a shelf SKU. So you'll have a bay, which is A bay, so A1 shelf, A2, and then within that, you've just got a load of ceramics because they're fairly bulky and easy to recognize. But when it comes to things like trading cards, Lego, you need a system, because when that falls apart, you're not finding that bit of Lego or that, you know what I mean? So I use these little drawers that we actually go back to when we had a shop and we used to sell badges. And they had a front with all the different badges on, all the badges in numbered drawers. So when we closed down the shop, I just kept the little drawers, and they're all numbered and lettered. And so that's what I do for little stuff. And then when I used to do lots and lots of trading cards, I just have boxes full of envelopes. So envelope number 1 all the way through to 1,000 or whatever it is. And when you've sold number 623, you put that in the empty envelope pile. Next one you list is now 623, back it goes. So it doesn't have to be complicated. But for that sort of stuff that you can see yourself getting easily confused with, clothing is another one I think you need to be pretty hot on, because you can get muddled up easily between a shirt and another shirt, right? So we used to have a SKU system for clothing. But yeah, it's worth doing. It's worth putting the effort in.
And it feels a lot of effort at times, because sometimes you have to go back into the listing and re-SKU it, and consolidating takes its time as well. But you're right, it is worth doing, because it saves you on them defects first of all, but also it makes your picking time so much quicker. I know there's many a times where I haven't SKU'd something and it's took me over an hour to find an item that's maybe sold for £5, and you kind of start thinking to yourself, is it worth the £5 I've made? So it is worth doing. Let me just try and catch up on the chat a little bit. So they're talking about Facebook group. I left all the Facebook groups too. Positivity is key. I completely agree. Steph Stell stuff by the seashore. That's easy for me to say. Hello, everybody listening while packing. Yes, I love listening to people's lives or whatever while doing my packing. It's so nice to have noise in the background. Thrifty Georgie says, smash the like, guys. Show some love. It's Valentine's tomorrow, So yeah, this is a reminder, especially for us men. It's Valentine's tomorrow, and I mentioned in Pete's chat this morning, Tesco's is in 24 hours in most areas. So if you haven't got anything, you better get there after the stream.
Well,
but I'm sure we're prepared.
We've booked a meal, so we're out.
Yeah. Nick's prepared, see. Hi, Pat. Hope you're good. So Lainey says exactly that. I feel the few of us can say out to each other, if we're being an idiot or not, we are here for each other. It's great to have that kind of sounding board. Yeah, I think that sounding board's a huge part as well. I've found that a lot more with doing YouTube, Nick, where you doubt yourself a lot. I don't know if it's just me, but just by putting something to someone else and saying, what do you think of this thumbnail? And just getting a second of opinion before you put it out there. I use that a lot. But what about you? Do you kind of chuck things out to your group and ask them questions, or are you quite comfortable now? I guess you've been doing YouTube for such a while now. I don't
really chat to people about YouTube questions much. I do speak to Mel about YouTube because she's really into the analytics and the do's and don'ts and the thumbnails. She's so into that, way more than I am. If I've spent more than 5 minutes on a thumbnail, I'm thinking I'm wasting my time now. But Mel will do hours on the thumbnail, right?
She does.
But I do chat to Mel about YouTube, but not many other people, to be honest. I find it, we just highlighted Lainey there. I'll speak to Lainey personally about personal stuff. We all need people we can unload on when things aren't going great, because I'm not very good at sharing that through YouTube. We all have a life beyond reselling, and it's not always roses, right? Things go wrong and life is tough. I've struggled with mental health my entire life. So I need people I can talk to about that. And that's what I find it invaluable for. I have a close-knit group of friends. We chat daily. And that's what it's really useful for. Because as I said before, going back to that daily, I'll speak to Andrea and the dog, right?
Yeah.
So having a few people that you can share those downs with is truly invaluable. So yeah, that's what I use it for.
Well. I think it is that it's that importance as well. And what I like about having other resellers I can speak to, Nick, is there's only so many times. I mean, it might be different for you because Andrea does reselling as well, but it's only so many times I can go inside and say to Leanne, "Oh, I brought this at the car boot sale for £5 and it's worth £50." And she is like, "Oh yeah, that's great. But she's probably bored. She probably thinks I don't care. And a lot of my friends are similar, where if we go out, I don't really sit there and say, "Oh, look at this I sold on eBay," because it's just like them saying, "Oh, look at this I've done in my job today." It's a bit like, you don't need all the finer details. You ask how work's going, they ask how the business is going, how YouTube's going, but that's it. So it is quite nice to have similar-minded people who do understand that £5 into £100 really good, so.
You're 100% right. And I am in a couple of messenger groups where it's, a bunch of lads or whatever, and we share, look at this sale, look at this thing. And we get excited about people's things that they've found. Yeah, because that doesn't translate to the pub very well.
No, exactly. It's a different kind of conversation. You don't want to, and you don't want to be talking about your work.
Look at this Bolo, lads. They're like,
shut up, Nick. Yeah, Pete saying, "I never thought those white buds would sell. How wrong was I?" That must have been a nice feeling, because I bet a lot of people were saying the same, like they're not going to sell, not going to sell. So it's always a nice feeling when you're like, yeah, they will sell, but then you kind of do, as you say, think to yourself, like, would I do it again? That's the question I always ask myself. Would I buy it again? Would I do it again? And so,
and the answer to that is no. I wouldn't buy that exact same haul again, because it just took too long and they were too bulky. But I'm glad I did it, and I learned what I learned about dealing with high volumes of shoes. Whatever I learned it, right? And I like the fact that I'm brave enough to be stupid. So there we go. But it worked out. It took too long, but we made some seriously good profit on it. And we got rid of them all. So I'm calling it a win.
Yeah, absolutely. They've all gone now, haven't they? So that's as good as it can get. Dave saying, "Can you straighten the camera, Nick? Bold finds is fine." I think your camera's fine. So I don't know if Dave's on the wind up. You look fine.
Hang on. I'm getting this line parallel with the top. Is that better?
We are. Cliff's in, and Dave also says, "Don't forget there's a Raw Mail strike on the 16th. Now, I thought that was cancelled. So, yeah, but Dave would know. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye on that.
16th.
That's in a couple of days, 3 days. Thursday.
Okay.
We'll keep an eye on that. Neil and Jan's in. Hi, Neil. Hope you're good. There are ladies saying she hasn't had the headspace for YouTube at the minute. Yeah, I think I've been in the same boat before with YouTube. I think you really need to be in the right headspace, because it's hard to kind of put on that YouTube entertainment style if you're not feeling 100%. So, Lainey, I hope you're good. Take some time for yourself, 100%. Great question from Shabba. Nick, who is your favourite 2 YouTubers you watch and why?
Do you want just YouTube in general, or resellers are we talking here?
I'm going to make it harder. I'm going to say 2 YouTubers. 2 YouTubers who resell and 2 YouTube channels non-resell related.
That's really awkward making it resellers, because I know a lot of these people. I know many YouTuber resellers, and they'll be thinking, why didn't you pick me? I can tell you what I'm enjoying currently.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying Derek's shed renovations because
Amazing.
I love that. I love doing it myself. I went through a similar thing, although mine was a lot easier than Derek's.
Yeah, Derek's got a real task there. When I watched his first video, I was like, I love this. This is going to be so much fun. But you've got a lot of work there. But he's up for the task.
Yeah. And I think we should give Pete some support as well, because he's trying to get to the 3,000 and he puts out some great content. So if you don't follow Sales of the Unexpected, he's in the chat somewhere. Put your link in. Plug yourself.
I was going to say, admins, chuck the links in. And if anyone else has got a channel as well, please chuck your channel in. Because when I started, a lot of people were so supportive of my channel. So, yeah, chuck them in there. But, yeah, I agree. I think with Pete, he's so consistent as well. And on YouTube, similar to yourself, Nick, that consistency is so key. And, you know, you go live every Sunday. I would say 99% of Sundays you go live.
Yeah.
And that is hard.
It is the one, if you can do one thing right on YouTube, it's consistency, honestly. And if you can pick a time slot and always go live then, it really helps build an audience, and people gather and they chat amongst themselves in the side chat. It becomes a thing and people have it in their mind that you're going to be live. And if you start slipping and miss that, then it all unravels rather rapidly. So consistency with that is key. I would say the other thing with YouTube that I've learned is you have to enjoy it and don't force it. Because we've probably both been there where you start to force it because you think, I must get a video out on Wednesday, and then what am I going to put out? And then you force some crappy video out and you don't like it and the viewers don't like it. So I find it hard to maintain that level of enthusiasm because it's not, you know, you don't always wake up and think, I know what I want to do today. Let's make a video.
I know. And then they're the toughest days where you wake up and really don't want to make a video, because I must admit, what you just said there is how I felt with Vlogmas. Because at the start of Vlogmas, I was like, this is going to be amazing. A video every day. I've just recently started YouTube. I'm going to have so much energy for this. First 5 or 6 videos, all the energy in the world. And then you wake up and you're not feeling great. You've had a crap night the night before, or, you know, you've had a return opened up on eBay. That's a £60 return. It's put you in a bad mood to start the day. And then you've got to kind of document your day and try and make it enjoyable for people to watch. So I'll tell you now, Nick, but when Vlogmas finished, I straight away was like, I'm never doing Vlogmas again. And loads of other resellers who had told me, you won't want to do it again after doing it once. Because it is a lot to put a video out every single day. And thinking of things that have gone on in your day and stuff to make it exciting as well. So
I've tried daily content myself a couple of times. The trouble is, some days I'm barely reselling. So then what do I put out?
Yeah.
Or, you know, family stuff comes up, or it's really hard to actually maintain that. I mean, that's one thing. You touched on some of the American channels, and Lonnie is incredibly consistent. Lonnie puts out really good, consistent content as well. It's like, how are you doing this? That's not fair.
Yeah. It makes it look easy as well. Makes it look so seamless.
Yeah. But I think some people are natural kind of orators anyway and come across very well. And you mentioned John, Cincinnati Picker. He's incredibly good as a presenter and as a person. He's so likable. And the man is that man in person. I used to chat to him quite a bit, been on a few live streams with him. He is that guy. Yeah. He's that likable.
It's not that YouTube personality if when you meet someone, you're like, hold on a second, you're not like this in real life.
Yeah. So I think that's half the battle, and if you come across well and it looks like you're enjoying it, hopefully you are. Yeah. You're halfway there, I think. And then if you can add in consistency, which is tricky, and then just keep going, and your audience will find you.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Rich in. Hi, Rich. Before I move on to the next question, sorry, Nick. What about the 2 channels you love watching what aren't reselling related? So have you got any YouTube stuff that you binge and you kind of miss? Because I watch a guy called, his name's Simon Wilson, and he's just reached 1 million subscribers, and he does travel. So he will do challenges such as he travels around Europe with no money. So he'll find a way to stay in hotels, and he's got this McDonald's trick where he'll go to McDonald's and he'll say, oh, you know, I come in early, I didn't get my order, and that's how he eats. And then he slept homeless and stuff. So I really like watching his channel grow. And I started watching his channel when I think it had maybe 30, 40,000 subscribers. and now he's up to 1 million. So I've just watched his journey. So have you got any where you're really into what have nothing to do with reselling?
Yeah, absolutely. Most of the content I watch on YouTube, and I watch a lot of YouTube. If I sit there in the evenings, I'll put YouTube on through the telly. I follow a skateboarder called Johnny Geiger, who is, in my opinion, one of the most talented street skaters around. And he does videos where he shows how he works out a new trick. He copies Rodney Mullen's tricks from the 80s. This will be nothing to most people watching now. And I find that eternally fascinating. I was a skater in the 80s. Wasn't very good, but I tried hard, right? So I find that fascinating. I also follow Mike the Scavenger. I'm sure people in the chat may have come across him. He's a scrapper over in America. Mm-hmm. And that is, he does put out great content and finds some really good stuff, but he makes it funny. He makes it enjoyable. He is by far, for me, I watch a lot of scrapping channels, and he is the most fun to watch. So that's why I stick with him, you know. So those two channels I probably watch the most. Apart from that's music. I watch music channels, music documentaries, interviews, videos, anything music. Yeah.
It's cool. All right. Shaba's got a question. Have you both ever lost something you sold that you knew you had and never found it again and had to buy the same one on eBay for less than you sold? So I guess the question is, have you ever lost an item, then you thought, I better buy a replacement off of eBay? I haven't personally. I've always, I mean, I must admit, since I've been doing reselling, I think I've lost 2 items. And I've just been upfront and honest to the customer that I don't know where it is. I've completely lost it here. Give them a little coupon to use on the next order on the store. But have you ever kind of had to scurry around to buy something quick to send to the customer?
I'm trying to think. I've certainly lost stuff. I don't think I've lost stuff I was able to quickly find another one or do that. But the story I've got about losing something is the one that sticks in my mind. Was I lost an entire Lego pirate ship. Not a little thing, like the full pirate ship, which sounds impossible. And I thought it was as well. So I thought I'd sent it. I came to the assumption that I'd sent it, but it wasn't sent. It wasn't showing us sent. They never received it. And it was a complete mystery. And we found this pirate ship, I think it was years later, in the bottom of a box with clothing stacked up on it. So it had somehow been put in the bottom of a cardboard box. We hadn't noticed it, and we'd stacked loads of clothing on top of it and found it years later. And that just baffled me for months, if not years, where this pirate ship, fully boxed Lego pirate ship. So that's my idiot of the moment, losing a pirate ship. And it was like a 50 quid sale or something as well. Like, what? How does that happen? So that was
I'll scroll through the chat. So like he says, maybe it floated away. Maybe that's what happened to it. Right, let me catch up. So we've got Neil in. I speak to Neil quite a bit. Neil is the camera expert. So if anyone's ever got any questions about Neil, go and bug him. I'm sure he won't mind. But Neil's been so helpful for me with picking up cameras and also telling me about when I've made huge mistakes with picking up cameras at car boot sales quite recently. Luxury Pickers in. Hi, guys. I'm really enjoying watching the Luxury Pickers videos as well. They're really consistent with putting stuff out there. And I love channels where you can consistently see content. So thanks for joining. Lisa says, NC Flipper in America is good. And Let's Do Lunch podcast. I don't think I've seen the podcast. I've seen NC Flipper, watch some of his stuff as well. But I haven't seen the podcast. So I'll check that out. And then, Nick, they're all plugging the channels, which is good. Damien's saying he's about 750 views away from regaining monetization. Apologize in advance for adverts. So all go and binge Damien. Damien's recently got over that 3,000 mark, so all go and binge his channel 100%. Nick, we've got another question for you. This is good. You're all good. Have you ever tried electronic skateboarding as you skated back in the day?
Yes. A good friend of mine, Simon, has had loads of different electronic skateboards and one wheels. Oh, I've not tried a one wheel. They look lethal. I've had a go on a couple of different electronic skateboards. I haven't taken the plunge and bought one, But yeah, loved it. Absolutely. I went on an off-roader. Off-road electronic skateboard was epic. Absolutely. Oh, so much fun. Haven't fallen
That's what.
off one yet. My friend has
That's,
many times, but
that's what, yeah. I was going to say that's what Neil's got. Neil's got an off-road. I think it's called a trumper board or tramper board. I think it's called, which is like a one-wheeler, and he does a lot on that.
Oh,
so,
right.
Neil, if you want to pin your channel in the chat with it as well, because Nick is into that kind of thing, but they look really cool. So,
yeah, the off-roader I went it looked like a traditional skateboard, but it had big chunky 4 wheels and a really powerful engine. And we were, skating it around a park on the grass and up and down dips and all sorts. Amazing thing.
They look really cool. All right. So, Nick, I know we've been going just over an hour. I'm going to spin the wheel in a minute for the Amazon giveaway, but I've got a question for you. I've got 2 questions. How do you remain consistent with YouTube? Because you have got that consistency about you. So someone like myself who's fairly new to the YouTube game, what advice would you give for me to remain consistent on YouTube? Because like we spoke about earlier, sometimes it's a struggle, but how have you and continue to remain consistent?
I don't really know. I think I've managed to keep it enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
And it's going to be different for everybody, but I genuinely think that's the key, because it is a lot of work. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. So if you can work on remembering why you're doing it, whatever your personal reasons are, and make it fun for you, the rest should follow. You know what I mean? And we all lose sight of that sometimes, and it becomes a chore. Then you need to quickly have a word with yourself. You know what I mean? But it's not easy, and I think people need to know that YouTube is a lot of work behind the scenes. It does get very repetitive. Sometimes you make a video and you watch it back and you go, that's exactly the same as the other 10 I did the other month. Which sometimes people like, by the way. People sometimes love that repetitive consistency, but it can get very Groundhog Day. So just try and remind yourself why you're doing it and make it fun for you. That's what I think I've tried to do.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the advice. And I've heard that a couple of times about, I think when you start, you really want to try and make videos for everyone else. And when I started, I knew what people would enjoy watching with the car boots and the adventure and stuff. And, I was doing Vlogmas and I thought everyone would enjoy watching that. But I think I'm coming to realize quite quickly that if you make videos that you enjoy making, people are going to enjoy them more because it comes across so natural. So what I've been trying to do a bit more recently is to create the videos how I would like to watch the video if I was a consumer as well. So like you're saying there, that is going to really help me remain consistent, because I think that is the trick to YouTube, is that consistency, because people then know, I look at my, the analytics on YouTube, it kind of shows you when best to post your videos based on when your audience is watching. And I know on a Sunday, if I look at my audience thing, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock on a Sunday, most of my audience on, I know why that is, because Nic Hills goes live on a Sunday at 8 o'clock. And the algorithm knows that because you have consistently gone live on a Sunday. And it's always, remind me if I'm wrong, it's always been 8 o'clock, hasn't it? Your lives. You haven't changed the time, or did you put earlier? Or
I can't remember, but it's been at 8 as long as I can remember.
Yeah. So, but now that's the thing, because I'm reselling, I'm in the UK, and subscribe to your channel, and people who watch my channel or people who watch your channel, YouTube's worked out that is when the audience is online, and that makes perfect sense. But also I know I'd never release a video at 8 o'clock, because actually people are in your lives, including me. I'm in your live watching your lives as well. So I think you need to kind of work out a structured way to put your videos out there, which works for you as well, because you don't want to be putting stuff out at times that don't suit your lifestyle as well. So but YouTube is a real learning game, but I love doing YouTube. I really enjoy the YouTube side. I love doing these interviews and meeting other people who, you wouldn't normally meet, although it's over like a StreamYard or a Zoom. But what's good about this is I've built up friendships within the community of people now. I'm planning to do a boot sale road show this year. I'm going to travel across the UK to different car boot sales. And now it's so much easier to say to John, I'm coming to Birmingham. let's meet up. Let me come around your car boot sale. Let me come and see the shop. So you can really build relationships and friendships, and makes it easier. But yeah, I'm really loving the YouTube game, and it's good fun. I'm glad I started it, I must admit. But for anyone who's thinking about starting it, it is a time suck, but it's so much fun. Do you still get the
I've been
with the videos? When you put out a video. So when you put out a video and it shows like it's performing really well, does that still give you a real like buzz?
Absolutely, it does. Yeah. It's still very rewarding when a lot of people respond positively to your content. You can't beat that. It gives you that rush of, oh, I did something nice, or I was a bit creative in that one and people have responded to it well. Going back to the consistency thing, and one thing that I think I did quite well a couple of years ago was came up with a couple of, not really formulas, but ways of making videos, like the picking orders ones, that I can do in my sleep, right? And it is a formulaic video, and it just takes the mental pressure off coming up with something. So if all else fails, I'll go and pick the day's orders. And although it is repetitive, you have to remember that really we're not the stars of this show. It's the stuff, it's the sales, it's the information. Without that, we don't have a channel, let's be honest.
Cool. Yeah.
So remember, if you're struggling for content, but you want to be consistent, just show the stuff. Show what you've sold, have a close look at it, explain why you bought it, how much you paid and what it's sold for. Because at the end of the day, that's what we all found this community for. And that still is at the core of all of our channels, whether we like to admit it or not. It's the stuff. Yeah. So I just fall back on picking orders videos. Every now and again, I'll just sit down or put the phone on and chat about a particular thing that's going on. People really like that. Just chat and put it up.
Yeah.
Right. So try and take the pressure off yourself, and that makes the consistency a lot easier. Keep it simple, stupid. I tell myself that a lot. Right. Yeah. Don't overcomplicate it, because it doesn't need to be. Yeah.
And you can overthink YouTube. I think you're spot on there. I think sometimes you can spend so much time thinking about what you're doing. And you're right. People who watch the videos predominantly want to see either what you find or what you sold it for or what you potentially are going to sell it for. Because then they know when they next go out on a car boot sale, and I've done this many a time, Nick, I've looked at items and I'm like, well, Nick sold that last week in his what sold videos. And he sold it for £25 and they're asking £2. So guess what? I'm going to pick it up. Yeah. So that's what people want. People want to see what they can find in their own areas and to sell because of what they've seen other people sell.
And a big lesson as well that I learned through YouTube is when you have a thought or an idea that in that moment you're excited about, make the video there and then. Do not sit on it and think about it, because you won't do it half the time or you'll overthink it. And my most viewed video, which has just hit 500,000 views yesterday, was I drove to the post office in a right mood about this person who was trying to scam me. And I ranted to myself all the way to the post office, dropped the orders off, came back, didn't even take my coat and scarf off, put the phone on and ranted. Most viewed video I've ever had. It's made us thousands of pounds, and that was just making a video in the moment. I'm passionate about it. I know what I'm going to say. Just start filming. Right?
Yeah. And you're right there. Yeah, you didn't plan it. Like you say, you come straight in, didn't sit down and think, let me get the light out, let me do this, let me make sure. You just filmed and said what was on your mind. That video is up there, one of my favorite videos. Not for what happened because you got scammed, but the fact that you and Andrea were just so real with it. It wasn't planned, it wasn't scripted. It was a case of, this is so frustrating, this is so wrong.
Well, you're thinking about that one then, because I'm thinking about a different one.
What one are you thinking about? I'm thinking about a lot.
I bought a food mixer and then sent me pictures of this filthy one and said, I'm returning this because it's secondhand. And I sent them a brand new one.
Yeah,
about the headlight one.
I'm thinking about the headlight, and also I think the fan favorite is the Monopoly board.
Yeah,
I don't think I'll ever get over that Monopoly board video where the guy said, "You've sent me a Monopoly board that's like split in two."
Yeah, and I occasionally go back and watch that, because if you do watch that back, it's an awful video. I'm filming the old Mac, and it's badly edited, it's terrible, but it's hilarious, right? And that's a good thing to remember. It doesn't matter really how bad the visuals are, as long as you've got a story, beginning, a middle, and an end, and it makes sense. People will watch, and that video gets consistent views. It's hilarious. Yeah, that was a good one. Oh, Andrea's in. Hello.
Andrea's in. Oh, there we are. Small world. So Neil rides with Simon.
Oh, he rides. Oh, okay. Simon's my friend I was talking about, who has the skateboards.
Simon's good friends of ours. Don't know if it's talked about. Just dipping in. Yeah. So Neil actually rides with Simon. What a small world.
Yeah, they do a lot of quite long rides now. They find a route and they'll go on their boards and yeah, the whole thing.
Hi, Jack. Good. All right. We'll just get to the bottom and then we'll spin the wheel. I appreciate I've kept you for over an hour, Nick. I really appreciate you coming in. It's been really nice to finally have a chat with the legend of reselling in the UK, as I class you as. I know you don't like that. You are. You guys are great.
My response to that is always, I'm a bloke selling secondhand crap on the internet. So don't big me up because it's not rocket science.
Honestly, as I say, like I've told you before, and I spoke to you when I was doing the 24-hour live when you popped in the end as well. Without you putting yourself out there on YouTube, which is not easy. That's another thing as well. Putting yourself out there and showing your flaws and open to criticism, because the likes are good, the nice comments are good, but I think we're all guilty of concentrating on that one comment which is criticizing you. Without you putting yourself out there, you and Andrea and other people, the likes of Z, Tom, and the others, a lot of us wouldn't be doing this and wouldn't actually think it's possible. So, I'm forever grateful to find your channel, to come and watch what you do, and to think I can do it better than Nic Hills, which I can't, but you think you can. But it's nice because I think you've opened that door to so many people. And I speak to other resellers at the car boot, including James, who was in earlier on Sunday. And he was like, oh, you got Nick on the channel tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, I can't wait to speak to Nick. And he was like, I started because of Nick. And I was like, yeah, a lot of us do. So Alison's saying, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, it is a wonder if there is going to be a legacy from this, that's it. That's amazing to me. And it is literally just putting that spark in people's heads, because you still had to do all the work, right? It's just putting the thought, okay, this strange guy on YouTube's doing it.
Yeah.
And then it gives you enough of, okay, it's possible. And that's all you need sometimes. And if that's the legacy from me starting YouTube 10 years ago nearly, I'm happy with that.
And you know what? There's more to the story, which I'll speak to you about another time. With regards to where I was. So when I was made redundant during the pandemic and lost my recruitment job, I didn't have a clue what to do. And if I had not discovered your channel a few years before and actually felt to myself, well, why can't I do that? I don't know where I would have been. So it goes further and deeper for a lot of people, including myself, Nick. So where we call you the legend of the game, it's not because you were the first to do it. I think you was the first to do it right. And I think that's the huge difference, because a lot of people start things and, don't continue, or they teach it the wrong way. I think what I've always enjoyed with you and Andrea is what you see is what you get. It's very honest. It's very down the line. I know people bombard you constantly and ask, what do you earn? How much do you need to earn to become a reseller? And them things are private. And also it's dependent on what you need. Like you say, Nick, for you, you're in a great position where you don't need to earn, £1 million a year to be comfortable. You do what you need to do. So
I often find a few certain things frustrating. The people banging on about turnover frustrates me.
Yeah.
And the people so obsessed with how much they earn or how much I earn really frustrates me, because it's irrelevant. How much I earn is irrelevant to you and your situation. And also how much I am able to earn doing this is irrelevant to how much you're going to be able to earn.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not going to correlate. So me sharing my figures is not going to help anybody. Because I'm in not a unique situation, but a very different situation to most people. Anyway, it does get frustrating sometimes.
No, and Nick, I'm the same. Because everyone's in a different situation. And what you're saying there, the bit what gets me is when people are posting up their 90-day totals as well. Because the 90-day total for me is good for you to look at to see where you are going. But you might have a 90-day total of, say, I don't know, 20,000. But you might have spent 18,000 worth of stock to get to the 20,000, where my 90-day total might be 19,000 and it's only cost me £500 in stock. So it's another thing that bugs me. But yeah, you're completely right. Everyone's situation is so different. Some people need to earn X amount, some people need to earn another amount. People have different lifestyles. So the nice thing is with running your own business on eBay is you can control it in some way. If you need to earn more money, you might dial it up a bit. And then you might think, do you know what? Actually, I'm probably doing too much and I'm getting a bit of burnout. I can dial it down a bit. And that's a nice thing about working for yourself as well.
Yeah. And all that matters in this is, are you paying your bills and are you earning what you need to earn out of it? If the answer is yes, you are a successful reseller. You're doing it right. And it doesn't matter how that compares to anybody else. I nearly made a video the other day about what is a successful reseller, and I might still do that because I think people get so caught up on the wrong details.
Yes.
And judge other people by their own goals or whatever. And that frustrates me because some people do this. I do this for lifestyle. I don't do this to be rich. I'm not rich. I don't pretend to be. Am I happy? Yes.
Yeah.
I'm successful because I'm happy. There we go.
Do you know what? Happiness is most important as well. If you're doing something that, you know, you can do and you're happy and you can, like you say, you can pay the bills, you haven't got to go to bed at night and wake up worrying about whether you can pay the electric bill the next day. But if you can do that, like maintain that happiness, that is worth more than an extra 10, 15,000 pounds a year. I truly believe that. I think that happiness is absolutely key in this. And you've got to be happy doing it because it's a lonely job, Nick.
It's hard work. It's hard work. It doesn't necessarily pay particularly well. It's a lot of work. And it's, but that's probably a whole lot. We could do a whole hour on that, mate.
I know we could. Right, I'm just going to answer a few more questions. We'll spin the wheel. Alison's saying, you guys are great. I live in France and have started eBay selling again. Not done it for years. Just wish there was a community in France like there is in the UK. You all help each other and it's brilliant. Well, you can always jump in and speak to us. We're always happy to chat to anyone. I mean, I speak to people in America, Australia, Alison with you in France. You know, my inbox, especially on Instagram, is always open. So if you've got any questions, just want to chat, drop me a message, 100%. Peter Ray, I saw Pete in earlier, but I'll say hello to Pete in case I've missed you, Pete. Hope you're good. Z says, I honestly thought reselling was just for the Americans. Watching Nick do it here made it real and achievable. And that's what I was trying to get out in my long speech there. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think it's the same in all aspects of life. You see somebody doing something and it suddenly makes it real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you know, my dad being self-employed made me think that was achievable because that feels like a big deal to a lot of people. You know, and because he was a self-employed man and did okay and enjoyed it, I thought I could do that. I could really do that. You know? So we're all inspired by somebody somewhere along the line. Like my granddad inspired me to enjoy being thrifty and making money out of nothing, and that's still what I do every day. So,
and that's where it starts. That's where it starts from, doesn't it? It starts from somewhere. And the final one we'll go before we spin the wheel. Jason says, evening watching while building Lego and eating pizza. Now, if that is not the perfect reseller evening, I don't know what is. So, all right, let's get the wheel up. So we have had, and we had a late entry in the chat. I'm going to put him in. I'm just going to put Tam. So Tam and Bell entered late, but we're going to let them in here. We've got 39 entrants. This is for a £20 Amazon gift voucher for the winner as a thank you from me for people who've supported the channel, because I've only been doing YouTube for 7 months, I think it is now. And the support I've had in the community has been amazing. So let's spin the wheel. Nic Hills might win because we've added him in as a special guest. My eyes are closed. I can't even see. There we are. Damien, you're the lucky winner. Drop me a message on Instagram and I will get that £20 Amazon voucher over to you. He's in the chat still. He's excited to win. And you can put it towards anything you want, Damien. Reseller related or not, treat yourself. But yeah, a bit of fun there at the end. But Nick, finally, once again, an hour and a half of your time. I am so forever grateful. I just want to say thank you for making me start this crazy journey. At times, I curse you, Nick, because I
You're
think,
welcome.
you know what, an office job was so much easier at times, but I would not go back and I wouldn't change it. So thanks to everyone in the chat as well for the comments. And I will be releasing my next boot sale video on Wednesday if I get the editing done in time. What about you, Nick? What have you got coming up on the channel?
Well, firstly, thanks for inviting me. I do really appreciate it. And like I said, we touched on it before. I'm going to start doing these myself. I've invited yourself on as a guest
Yes.
and others. So we'll start that up sometime in the next few weeks. But it's been an absolute pleasure. I enjoy chatting to people about what I do endlessly. So it's not a chore. Did you say what have I got coming up on YouTube? Just
yeah. What videos you got coming out this week? Have you got anything sort of planned?
Really planned. No, I do have a video I want to try and get. So I'll say it now, and it will make me do it. I found what, in my opinion, is perhaps the rarest item I have ever found in the last 20 years. It's absolutely unique. None of you will ever find anything like this. I guarantee it. I'm making a video about it. Yeah.
Well, there we are. That's an exclusive to end. That's an exclusive.
That's a bold claim, right?
That's a bold claim, but that's an exclusive on the channel. I like getting these exclusives. I had one from Brum when he was on about the car boot sale guy was going to do free entry, which he done. And I know he lost a lot of money on that, the car boot guy. But once again, Limelight, it's my pleasure from my point of view. I love making videos to help other people because other people helped me in this journey. So, yeah, I always like helping others. But on that note, Nick, thanks again. We'll end the live and we will see you in the next videos.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.